Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss Nigel Farage's meltdown yesterday as he complained about his bank closing down his account because it raises quite an interesting question that maybe someone should be asking. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So Nigel Farage has been doing a lot of whining this week, really, after winning an award from a fake awards group that GB News was sponsoring. He whined when they removed a tweet promoting his win. He only stopped sulking when they put it back. But then they did, and he was all happy again. But then yesterday he had another ad dab, this time a bit more serious. He noted that his bank was closing his account down, and he blamed the establishment for forcing him to leave the country, even managing to somehow blame the EU. Now, I'll tell you what's interesting, actually, a little aside, it's interesting. All the usual crowd have come out in support of Nigel Farage on this one. Oh, this is disgraceful. Oh, the establishment. Oh, they're hounding him out. They'll be after you next. Darren Grimes came out. So, there should be a law that guarantees you a right to a bank. And it's like, that's interesting. I mean, first of all, he hasn't had his right to a bank refused. A bank has closed it down. I'm going to go into some of the probable reasons for that. But it's quite interesting because a follower pointed out to me that the EU are introducing such a rule. So Darren Grimes is actually supporting the idea we adopt an EU rule. Of course, he's too thick to realise, but never mind. But anyway, Nigel Farage's bank is Coutts, by all accounts. Now, this is the bank for the super wealthy. You need £1 million minimum before you can open an account with them. So, quite how much he's got stashed away, I don't know. If he's banking there, presumably considerable amount. He claims he wasn't told why it was being closed. Now, first of all, I will say that we're only taking his word for it that any of this is even happening. For all we know, his bank account might be absolutely fine, but it would be a weird lie to tell, I think, just for attention. So we'll assume that he's, in terms of the statements of facts, telling the truth, even if he's hiding a few details. Now, there is a reason why someone's bank account might be closed, perhaps without much in the way of explanation. You would normally expect an explanation, but there is a situation under which you wouldn't get an explanation. And it appears to come down to him being classed as a PEP, which is a politically exposed person, according to people in the know. Now, I have linked the House of Commons research briefing in the description below that explains this. Now, if this is indeed applying to Farage, and again, speculation here, it means he is subject to enhanced checks by banks. Now, this is because, as you can well imagine, politically exposed people are at higher risk of being involved in dodgy financial practices. It is possible that Farage failed the due diligence checks on him, those enhanced checks, and that's why his bank is closing the account. Now, that is not to say that the bank has proof that Farage is involved in anything dodgy, just that it suspects it may be the case. And the reason why they would not be able to tell him that's why they're closing it down is for fear of passing on information which could interfere with the criminal investigation by the police, which the bank may not even know is taking place, unless, of course, they have found evidence of money laundering, say, and have passed on the information to the police themselves. But in theory, the bank could just see some suspicious activity. For all they know, the bank are conducting investigations and they can't interfere whether they know it's happening or not. But so that's the only reason, as far as I can tell, for a bank to close down an account and not tell you why. But so there's no other reason that I can find for that. And it'll be because, on the balance of probability, they cannot satisfy themselves that there's no fraud or money laundering or other illegal activities being carried out with that account. Obviously, impossible to speculate about what would have caused Farage to have failed the due diligence PEP checks. And as I say, it doesn't mean he has or even is likely involved in dodgy dealing, as we might naturally be minded to think, because we might think to ourselves, well, hang on a minute, didn't the Electoral Commission say they weren't entirely sure that the Brexit Party was being funded all above board? I remember that. So he has been associated with at least one group where the source of funding has been unclear. Not entirely clear where GB News gets its funding. But none of that necessarily need affect Farage himself. But nonetheless, what is clear, what is almost certainly the case, is the bank is at least suspicious and they can't afford to allow themselves to be involved in money laundering. So it's just easier for them to tell him to piss off and bank elsewhere. And he's not alone either. I gather this has happened to a number of people of late, and it may indeed be that some innocent people are falling foul of it. But what I would say is this: whether Farage has been treated fairly or not, it is right that certain people are subject to enhanced checks with their banking. Money laundering is an incredibly serious problem in this country. And if people want to complain, maybe they should have less opaque financial arrangements, because this will again almost be certainly caused because the bank cannot verify that all of his transactions are kosher. I think we can be confident of that. The suspicions will have been raised because his financial dealings are not easy for them to track. Now, I don't know, maybe he's just engaging in tax avoidance, which is perfectly legal. All the best patriots try and get out of paying taxes in this country. And maybe that's why the bank can't be sure it's kosher. No idea. But I'm pretty sure that straightforward banking arrangements would not have him fall foul of these checks. Bad luck, mate. Oh, and he also suggests that it might force him out of the country. Now, initial thoughts, oh dear, how sad, never mind. But then later thoughts, well, force you out of the country. Why would it do that? Let me present a hypothetical situation, purely hypothetically. Let us say someone was engaged in money laundering, right? And then let's say the bank closed their account down without telling them why. And because you know how these things work, you are aware that the most obvious reason for a bank to do this is because it suspects money laundering. And you fear that the bank may have passed on your details to the police. And you might fear a police or National Crime Agency investigation. And you think to yourself, not sure I fancy being arrested. I might have to leave the country. Now, I'm not suggesting that Nigel Farage is guilty of any money laundering, but I would ask myself, why would this force him out of the country? Just go to another bank. I mean, if he goes out of the country, he'll have to go to another bank. Why not just go to another bank? He's been kicked out of one bank. How does it force him out of the country if he's innocent? That's what I would be interested in. But anyway, there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.